again. We know this is what we're meant to do. So we wake up, put our feet on the floor, go and conquer the day like a warrior, like warriors. Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life. That's right, that's right. No need to panic anymore. We got lots of support and an army of warriors by our side. We fight the good fight when we unite. We fight the good fight when we unite. Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life. That's right.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to the Coffee Shop Show. I am Sondra Ray. I am the host, and I have the privilege of doing this with the Explore Protech panel community. And it's the first show of the year. So yay, let's get this here started off right. Peter, Happy New Year. How are you?
Great. This is actually really exciting because there's going to be so much awesome stuff happening this year. It's just getting our ducks in a row. Getting ducks in a row when they all want to go in different directions is not the easiest. Herding ducks. Who's ever heard of herding ducks? Come on now.
I always say I don't know where my ducks are, and I don't even know if I have ducks. They might be penguins, you know. So we have family chat memes about that all the time. Who actually has ducks and who doesn't have ducks? But did you have a good holiday, Peter?
You know what? I had an incredible holiday. Got to spend it up country in the bush of, for those of you that are international, in the top part of Africa. Nice on the farm, disappeared into the bush and came back a married man.
Whoop
Oh,
whoop. Yay.
rings on the finger. So to all of you out there that thought you stood a chance, sorry, my bad.
Darn
God.
it. We can still be friends, Peter, though. That's
Yeah.
cool.
I can have friends. I'm allowed to have friends.
Yes, yes. Huge congrats to you and Nestine. We couldn't be happier as a community, of course. Well, let's jump right in. So you're going to really see a theme this year on topics. And you might figure out real quick who planned them. So, um, so the very best place to start is getting everything out of your head. Seriously. We just come off of holidays. In the US, we just had a big snowstorm go through the middle of the United States, shutting down lots of states. So some people are still on a holiday because they had an extra snow day and so on and so forth. But a lot of people are starting their new year today because, that's the first day back to work / school / normal, whatever your normal is. But it also means that you have all the crazy things going in all the crazy directions, business, school, personal, all the things, and everybody wants to do 5,000, 2 million things in the beginning of the new year. And then you either start 5,000, 2,000 things and you quit on day 2, or you're froze in procrastination because you don't know which way to go. So, or all of the above. So one of the biggest things that I teach on is brain dumping. So your brain is made for processing, not storing. That's a scientific fact. the research shows that the more you try to keep in the brain, the easier you're going to forget. The quicker and easier you're going to forget. Take the instance of walking into a room and don't remember why you walked into the room. I mean, it happens to the best of us. Um, or, calendar reminder goes off and you're like, oh, dang it, I totally forgot I had that meeting today. That was me this morning. So I was like, wait, I go. Yeah, that's what phone reminders are great for. So basically, the concept of brain dumping is literally dumping everything out of your brain, as in it can be verbal, it can be pictures, it can be written, whatever works for you. If you're a doodler and you want to doodle your thoughts all over the page, I always say there's not necessarily the perfect way, it's the way that works best for your brain. Some people can do spreadsheets and automations and all those things. That's not me. Some people physically need to write. The pen doesn't forget, so there is a very big backing scientifically on physically writing things down. I know that can be overwhelming for some people, so I'll voice notes if you don't like to write. What your voice recorder, or oh my gosh, there's so many apps out there nowadays that you can just like put it on this list, put it on that list, or just a general list. If you have one of those fancy dancy home systems like Alexa or Google Home or whatever, use it. Be like, hey, set up a meeting with Megan to my task list for Explore Protech or whatever. Use the devices you have. Almost 99% of us have a phone around us 99% of our day. So that's a good place to keep it. I like to keep it in Google because then you can just see it on the computer and on whatever devices you want to do it. So it's universal. I do like that. Some people carry a small notebook with them. That's great too. So the best way is the way that you're going to do consistently. Don't start 15 different notebooks or 15 different apps or 5 different areas. Yeah, Mr. Levy's like, yep, I do that all the time. So the biggest thing is finding a place and being consistent in that place, because once you start doing, oh, I want to put, I don't know, business 1 over here, business 2 over here, personal over here, then you're like, wait a minute, where are all these places and which list do I need to add this to? So pick one, try it for 90 days. If it doesn't work, try something else. Again, you got to pick what works best for your brain, and all our brains are very unique, very unique, very unique. So some are visual, some are audio, some are written. So definitely pick what works best for you. And what I say about brain dumping is that the more consistent you are with it, the easier it gets, and the more less stressful it is. Because a lot of people are like, I don't want to dump my brain because that's a scary thing to do. Because I have 110,000 million ideas. I'm like, yeah, but you can't figure out which idea and which way to go if you don't have it out of your brain. Like, it's these loops and they get tangled up. Think about the junk drawer with all the wires, and you got like idea number 1, idea number 2, idea number 5, idea number 20, and then you like try to pick up something and you pick up this whole lot of wires, and you're like, can you tell my brother does wiring, so it used to be a family thing, but you pick up the wires and they're all tangled up and you're just like, I don't know where. Yeah, the blue wire might be, and maybe they're not color coded and they're all black wires, and you're like, put it back in the drawer, shove it back in the cabinet. I'll get to that later. And you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to make I don't know how to untangle this mess. So dumping it is the first part. And yes, it's going to be a tangled mess. And then definitely you can see themes, you can do different colors, but the first part is writing everything down so that it's out of your head. And writing it down, I'm using that generally, can be voice, can be all those different things, but getting it out of your head is definitely the first way to go. And finding a consistent spot that you're going to use and method is the second thing. And then third is dissecting the list and figuring out where to start and picking three things for each category. The other thing you can do with the brain dump list is delegate. Hey, I got 6 household things on here. Maybe I could split this with my significant other or the children or whatever. I have some tech stuff on here, so let me get the tech stuff over to the tech person in my business. I web social media stuff, so let me get that to the social media manager. It just helps delegate too. A lot of people are like, I don't know what to delegate. And I'm like, well, write a list. That's the first part, is how to delegate. So those are some tips and tricks on brain dumping. You can brain dump for business, you can brain dump for life. You can help your kids brain dump. That is something that I've seen children with anxiety that helps really get it out of their head. It's written down so they don't feel like they're forgetting something all the time. So it's definitely a good method to teach your kids so that because kids have so much going on, almost as much, if not more than adults sometimes. So help them be able to process that so they're not living in a state of anxiety all the time of I'm going to forget something, mom, or I'm going to forget, and then help them create systems around that. We're doing one around meds, put your keys by your meds before you go to work. So you take your meds with you to work, like just putting little systems in place, but you have to know what's in their head because we're not mind readers, even as mamas, we're not mind readers. Some people think mamas are mind readers. They are not. So that helps with them too. And vice versa. My daughter will be like, Mom, we can't read your mind. So write it down so we know what you're expecting us to help you with. So that's just some of the tips and tricks and the reasons why. But I love to hear different people's approaches and if they've done it, if it doesn't work, if they found something else. I'm always open for creativity. Mr. Peter, I know you're not one to write things down. That's not your cup of tea. That's why I was like, doesn't have to be written as in written form. But okay, so first off, do you do it? And if you do, how do you do it?
Okay. I think first of all, what I want to say is there is a particular beauty to everybody in the world being extremely different. We're all different. We all have different ways of thinking, different ways of analyzing things, different ways of being strategic. And so there is no one solution. Like you mentioned earlier, you try something, and if that doesn't work, you try something else. So I don't think there's anybody out there that can go, I have found the solution and this is the only thing that works and everybody needs to do this, because that would just be a lie. There is no one size fits all. We basically take all the little bits and pieces and modify to what suits us as an individual. So I will use what works for me, but what works for me definitely will not work for Sondra. What works for Sondra, good God, if I had to try that, I would drive myself mental. Because if I write a list, I'm so dyslexic that I write it so badly that when I read the list again, it doesn't make any sense at all. I still give words nicknames, and then I write the nickname of the word, and then when I read it, it's like, wait, what? Who wrote this? And why did they write it? And then to top it off, Nastine's method of relaxing while she's working is doodling. So sometimes I will write a list or write something. I'm like, yay, I wrote it down, success. And then I'll come back and the words have been turned into flowers. So that really does not work for me, because then I end up with a page that's just kind of doodled and messed up. So I think for me, talking about, like Nastine, sometimes she'll be like, you're talking a lot. Because I talk things through, but I have to talk things through with somebody that's actually listening, because then I feel like I'm being heard and I've got it out of my head and somebody has heard it. I have not yet tried talking to a recording app because I know I'm not going to go back and re-listen to it. So I just have this thing of being heard. I think every now and then for me, I get to a point where there's too much in my head and I just have to have a session where I sit down and just talk. Megan, me and you have been known to, on a few occasions, to jump into a Zoom and just go and kind of just get it all out. And once it's out, it's almost like it's out there. I don't really have to worry about it, but I know it's there. And that generally works for me. There are other methods that I use when I do certain things, but it's got nothing to do with brain dumping. But, as somebody that is extremely dyslexic, intensely, I wouldn't say intensely, am Sometimes I think I'm I'm dyslexic, ADHD. I got it right. Sometimes I do it ADAC. Oh, but never mind. It's one of those. We have to find different methods of doing things. But here's the kicker. If you're looking for a different method to achieve the same result as somebody else, but you're looking for a different method to achieve it, give it the chance to function. It's not going to work in 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5. It's not going to. You have to give it the opportunity to actually run its course so that you can actually go, did this work? Or did this not work? Or how would I need to modify it? And actually give it a chance. Because if you don't give it a chance, well, then you'll be doing the same thing with everything else. Not giving something a chance to work, and nothing will ever do what you need it to do. So give it a fair chance. Design it for yourself. Build it the way that it works best for you. Don't let anybody tell you, this is how I do it and this is how you have to do it. No, that's not the case. You've got to know yourself well enough to know, if I write this list, will I go back to it? Am I a person that likes lists? Does this list make sense to me? If it does and that works for you, then great, go for it. If it doesn't, find another way. So I think that's all from me for now. I'm very curious to hear what Megan's going to say, but Sondra, back to you.
I love that, Peter. Two different things. One, yes, I love, I actually offer a service called brain dumping. It is literally 90 minutes of listening to somebody talk, to write them notes, no judgment, ask clarification questions, and give them notes back to do whatever they want to do with them. This is one of my most popular services because, yes, people don't have that space to be able to talk to somebody and just talk and let them listen without giving them judgment and this is how you should do it and blah, 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 blah. I do it with my coaching clients too. I had a client that she was more than dyslexic. Anyways, so writing was not her forte. Even speak to text was not her forte. So I'd be like, every Monday we are going to meet so I know exactly what you want done. She verbally had to tell me take notes, me give it to the right people on the team, so on and so forth, because none of those were her strong suits. So she needed that meeting every single week for accountability's sake, but also brain dumping. So I love doing that. I work with many creative, ADHD, neurodivergent, however you want to put it, whatever buzzword for 2025 there's going to be, clients, and I still can help them, because a lot of it's about listening. A lot about it is, yes, I do technically have a product. It's a spreadsheet, a Google spreadsheet for brain dumping. I'm not going to hand it to you, Peter, because I know that's not your style. So I would do, Zoom meetings. Okay, once a week or once, twice a month, we're going to do that. And then as far as trying something, 21 days to make a habit. But I always tell people to give it a minimum of 60 days, preferably 90, because a lot of times we're not consistent. So it's, that's just nature, life. I got kids, I got blah, 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 blah. So I always tell even my coaching programs, I prefer 90 days because it just takes that long to figure out if it's truly working for you, or if it's the excitement of starting, or is it the, oh, somebody held me accountable or not held me accountable, or I didn't show up, or, I don't know, we've had the cold crud, somebody got sick for a week, so they didn't do it for a week, does that mean it didn't work for them? No, I mean, it just meant life happened. They had to pause it and they had to pick it back up. So, I say 6. I prefer 90, but I say at least give it 60 because truly, you're going to know better than 30, just because if something happens, then, that break and whatever happened isn't going to really say yes or no, it did or didn't work. Like, hey, I had to pause for a week and then I can come back. So you have that a little bit of flexibility of seeing it work. But yeah, I love that. I love that. Miss Megan, Happy New Year.
Thank you, Sondra. Happy New Year, everyone. Good to be here. Good to see everyone looking all happy after their holidays. So, Sondra, you and I, we love this brain dump space. And you mentioned earlier about walking into rooms and not knowing what you came for. I just thought that was normal, right? So it's only after I got to that point that Peter was talking about earlier, where it feels like your brain is just too full to do anything. When you know you've hit that point where you just definitely need that brain dump. So I still use it all the time in my space. And I think the most important part of that is the mental load that you lift when you do that. And even if it just means getting it out in order to be able to prioritize it and delegate and whatever, but later, the fact that you've gotten it out, it's the best thing you can do for yourself. So you and I have done this several times, Sondra, and yeah, I think that's still the best part of my day-to-day keeping on top of things. And then for me, my current process is about 2 calendars. I'm a writer, a physical writer, love my pen and paper. So I still hold an electronic diary and a handwritten diary, because for me, it's just simpler when I'm out and about. I've got my book with me, my diary, and I walk about. I can quickly jot things down. I can, add notes. I can check things, and not necessarily use my phone. But for me, the dual system works in that space. But I've made sure that I'm now just down to 1 electronic calendar, because I used to have a personal one, and then it's the business one, and then it's, your other email addresses calendar, and you've got to go through 4 before you know where you're on and off in a given day. So I've gotten myself down to 1 calendar, e-version, and 1 hard copy book. So that seems to be working for me. But yeah, I think it's very important, and especially when you get to that point where you feel like, this is not working today. There's too much going on, just 15 minutes. And I've discovered, I also, like Peter, don't go back and listen to my voice notes, but I started dictating to myself on Google Sheets. So it transcribes as you speak to it, Peter. And so it writes it down for you, right? And so that's what I've been using. And for me, I can sit and chat, talk about it, do something else in the background, and just let the words flow. And I go back to it, and I shuffle it around on paper, prioritize it in that way, and then I feel like I'm organized. And it takes you like an hour. So that's my working system at the moment. And yeah, fingers crossed. That's the one that's going to keep working.
I love that. I love that, Megan. Yeah, and I have no problem with people doing physical things. The only caveat to that is if you have a team, then you need a digital version so that your team isn't going, hey, I can't see your calendar on your page, or I can't see your notes on your page. Sending me a voice recording to transcribe or whatever is fine. Or my calendar stored on my computer, and then I'll just be like, okay, that's great, but I can't help you schedule anything if I don't see a calendar. So there's just that caveat of, if you're working with a team in your business, you do need a digital version, a shared version, so that and you can lock it down where they only see X, Y, and Z or whatever. There's definitely a lot of security things you can do. But I had a client go on vacation, and the podcast recording was on his computer. It didn't upload right. And then there was no podcast for the week because I can't physically go to a different state and go upload it. So then we worked on a digital Dropbox, Google, or whatever you want to use, so that you can be able to help each other for backups, because again, life happens. I've spent many a times at hospitals longer than I wanted to, or whatever, or appointments. And so just having that little backup so that your team can help you is extremely important. But yeah, I'm all for physical calendars, as long as what I need to do as your team member support can still do it.
Yeah.
Totally 100% fine. So love that. For sure. And I know we're not doing the 80% business list anymore, right, Megan? We're past that now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Way past it. I think I outgrew that one.
Awesome. I love it. And some people don't like lists. Some people like you said, a spreadsheet, or they want, I don't know, mind mapping, bubbles. There's just so many different ways you can do things. But I love that. Mr. Levy, Happy New Year, sir.
And a Happy New Year to each of you and anybody else that's listening. And yeah, 2025 is going to be a good year. It's 2024, I think, was the preparation for 2025. So, and then big congratulations to Mr. and Mrs. Hingston. Wow. Not surprising, but wonderful to see. So, yeah, I think, listening to the conversation, I just think, it's important to find out, everybody has kind of mentioned this, is what works for you. And how do we do that? It's probably being able to go through and experiencing what doesn't work for you brings you closer to what works for you, and being okay with it and recognizing that. So I think it's a lot about self-awareness and not getting caught up, as Pete says, it's not a one size fits all. So everybody will give you good advice, and there's fantastic advice given with good intention by everybody, but you've got to learn to kind of filter out what works for you and what doesn't. And I know I've got a notebook to tell me which notebook, well, no, let me rephrase it. I don't have that anymore, Sondra. I used to have a notebook to tell me which notebook I wrote the notes in. So that in itself, and that was only last year, I thought, Stephen, get rid of this crap. So because it's not working. But what I did do is, we have that famous to-do list, and it never gets completed. But what I did, what I discovered what works for me, is you write a to-do list and it goes in any order as it comes to mind. Like Megan was saying, get it out your head, put it onto the piece of paper, 100%. That clears your mind. And I think even with physical clutter, I've experienced in that, where you clean up, which we've just done because we've downscaled a lot. We've cleaned out 21 years of clutter. It's amazing what it does to you mentally. So 100% resonate with that, Megan. So you write down there, coming back to this to-do list, you write it down. And for me, if there's 15 things, and then you put an asterisk next to the 3 things that I have to get done today. But I still had the other 12 things visually in front of me. So it didn't work for me. What did work, I took those 3 things, instead of making an asterisk next to them, I wrote them on a separate little, a notepad, sticky note, and I put it on my computer and I put the rest of the list away. So I could only focus on those 3 things, and I wasn't allowed myself to look at that list until I'd done those 3 things. And that worked for me because I didn't have sight of the other 12. So I had to go to those, but it works for me. So, I think it's important. And then the one other thing I think is also to understand when you're doing things and you've got so much in your mind, that I've learned also. So where I'm speaking to you from now is my office. It's my working space. It's not, and this is going to sound crazy, it's not my thinking space. I've learned that. I'm happy to work here. I'm comfortable. I'm energized. I'm doing sessions with people, but if I need to think, this is the wrong place for me, and I've tried it, and now I don't fight that anymore. I have to step out of this environment into a separate environment to go and then think and do those to-do lists and the prioritizing and all those good things. So I think just find your space where you just kind of step out of the noise, maybe, or just into another environment that works for you, where you do think. We all know where that is. And I have to highlight something that Peter said, was the power, because Pete said that sometimes he just needs to talk to Ernestine. He doesn't need her to answer him. He needs her to listen to him. And in talking, that works for Pete. And as you were saying that, Peter, it highlights me the power of listening. Okay. And what does it mean for you, not for me? We often feel we need to answer. Sometimes people just need us to shut up and listen. And it's not an easy thing to do, but it's a very powerful thing to do. And even, after, like, for example, if Pete's speaking and he said what he's had to say, you sometimes just pause and wait a few seconds before you answer, because you might not have to. So, I think there's there's so many things, that we need to, and especially in this fast moving world that we're in, is sometimes we just need to slow down to speed up. And yeah, that's my input.
Thank you so much, Mr. Levy. Yes, and then people are like, oh, it's time consuming to brain dump. No, it's not. You don't have, it's not like you have to dump every single thing out of your head every single day. It could be the things you want to get done for today, or ideas, and you put them at a specific spot, future ideas, or I call it the parking lot, put it in the parking lot. Like, it's not the idea we need to tackle today or even this week or maybe this month, but you didn't lose it. It's in a central spot. And then the other way you could do the pick three, I do like Mr. Levy. I do like what you said about putting everything else away, so you focus on those three. Another way is put those three on your calendar for the day. I'm going to work on priority number 1, this time of day, priority 1, 2, and 3. And you might look at your calendar and go, okay, I can't pick 3. I need to pick 2 because I'm overbooked in meetings. That's by tomorrow. So, like 8 meetings tomorrow. So not my usual way to do things. Or if you have your work day written out that, I don't know, work in my business this time of day, work for clients this time of day, then you can put those in those slots. Today I'm going to, write social media content for the month, and I'd be working in your business. So yeah, definitely, especially if you are very much a calendar person, putting those on your calendar puts them right in front of you. I like the Post-it note idea too, puts it right in front of you. Yeah, I wouldn't encourage you to keep the whole list in front of you all the time, because then people are like, wait, I need to, blah, blah. It's a distraction. So if you can put it away, a lot of people are like, oh, is it a one and done? No, you can add to it throughout the day as long as it doesn't become a distraction throughout the day. Like, if you need to write something down, there's no problem with that. Go write it down, but it's not go write it down and like, oh, let me reorganize the list again. No, go write it down and move on. And yeah, so definitely having a method to that too, that and I know a lot of people that like to end their business day by writing things for the next day so that they don't forget for the next day. So here, I close out my day at whatever time it is, and you're like, okay, I need to do tomorrow, and make your tomorrow's to-do list or whatever. That's a habit I would love to get into, and I haven't consistently done that, but it's a good habit, so it's not swirling while you're taking the kids to do whatever, you're making dinner or whatever your end of your day is. You're closing those loops. Your brain has loops. So if you can close those loops and be like, those loops are closed, tomorrow's stuff's already written down, I need to move on. But I don't need to worry about that because it's in a safe spot. I think that's the biggest thing, is when you're doing brain dumping is it's in a safe spot. You're not losing it. And that's what creative entrepreneurs, I find that's their biggest thing. They're afraid they're going to lose the idea. And I'm like, but if you have it in a safe central spot that you know where it's at, preferably somebody else knows where it's at in case you need that extra help, is extremely important. So yeah, for sure. Peter.
Yeah, I think I just want to take a bit of a second to kind of reiterate or go over why are we talking about this. And the reality is that we, like Mr. Levy said earlier, we live in a very fast-paced world. We as entrepreneurs need to function. We need to earn a living. Sometimes it's out of necessity. We have to earn a living. Otherwise, we cannot pay our rent, or we cannot feed our children, or we cannot, the list goes on and on. And we as entrepreneurs, we look out there and we see other entrepreneurs, and some of them are just doing so well. Like, how do they do all the things that they're doing? How do they? And then we aspire to that, or we try and become that, or we try and achieve that. And some people are naturally just really good at retaining a whole bunch of information, and then really good at being able to get it out there in a way that generates the most. And some of us are not. And there are ways around that, so, and this whole show, that the reason for this show is to create a safe space for entrepreneurs to come into a space where they can go, well, how do other people do it? How can we possibly do it? How can we relay our mistakes that we've made in the past, and then prevent others from making those same mistakes. So the whole point of this show is to create a space that we can either improve ourselves or create a way for others to improve themselves. And sometimes we've had to learn really tough lessons to be able to do that. But that's what it is. It's a safe space. So, you know, like if you're out there, you're going, well, goodness me, I don't know how I'm going to do this for myself, because that was me. I'd be like, okay, you're talking about a list. That's not me. Fortunately, I'm surrounded by people that are all different. And they will go, well, if that's not you, then maybe this is you. Maybe this will work. We should try this, or we can try that. Or here's a suggestion. And then from those suggestions, I would take bits and pieces and put them together and make my own way. But the whole point is that we create the space for that purpose. So if you're out there, you're watching the show, there is a way to do it. And there's a way that works for you to be able to do it. So let's figure out what that is. And this space is supposed to be helpful. So if you need help with that, well then say so. Hey, I'm so and so. I run this business. I'm really battling to do X, Y, and Z. We're a group of entrepreneurs. The whole point of this group is to help people. So reach out. That's kind of the point.
Yes, Peter, for sure. For sure. And yeah, the show is definitely to highlight different ways to do different things differently. And that's one thing I love about the fact that it's a panel discussion, because yes, we bring in an expert, quote unquote, but it's just somebody that has knowledge about the topic. And then it's a discussion because everybody has a different method, has a different way to do it. We all have different types of businesses. I know last year I learned a lot more about e-commerce businesses and financial industry and just some different types of businesses that I didn't know anything about. But some of the things I do definitely apply in those industries. I just had to figure out how they apply. So our topics are meant to help business owners, entrepreneurs in whatever field you're in, whatever stage you're in, whether you're new, been in business forever, been in business for 2 years, you know, whatever part you're on, because I always feel that even though we might know it, we might have forgotten how to do it, or we might not have went back to that. And maybe we just need that refresher of, oh, okay, wait, I did brain dumping for, 6 months last year and then it fell off or whatever. I need to get back to that. It worked for me this way. I'll try it this way. Maybe I need to try something new. But yeah, we do cover some topics over and over just because everybody needs those refreshers. And then the beauty of the YouTube is it's out there. So if somebody comes in at year 1, 2, 3, or 5, they can be like, oh, I need to go find out about business plans. Okay, business plans. We talked about that for a couple of different shows. And we also build the shows on one on top of each other so that the concepts keep building. So yeah, that's our priority. I know that's my priority. And yes, we put our LinkedIn links in our show description so that you can reach out and talk to us, whether it's for help or just want to get to know us or everything in between. So definitely reach out and connect with all of us. And of course, connect with Explore Protech as a place to definitely get help because, coffee first, business later is the motto of Explore Protech. And I can honestly say they live that. We live that. Not they, we, because we are Explore Protech. So for sure. Come on in, Megan, and then we will start wrapping up.
Thank you, Sondra. And yes, have to reiterate the fact that community feel and way of doing things is the way to go. We've all been here for a while in this community, and countless times just listening in or being a part of this discussion on a Monday has really helped me think about things differently. So encouraging people sitting in the background to do the same, get involved, just meet up with us, chat with us. That's what we're here for. I just thought it might be a good idea to drop 3 quick tips. And it's things that I've learned over the last couple of years speaking to different people. I've got so many wise people around me, so I cannot credit anyone specifically with all of these tips because I've adopted them from different sectors and people. But the one thing that was suggested to me is instead of making a daily to-do list, to make a daily bucket list. And that just landed for me immediately, because those of you who know me know that my business is built on the premise of having fun and feeding my passions every day. So that just did it for me. So instead of looking at this 20-point long list and going, oh, you know, do I have to do all of these things? I don't really want to do 12 of them, but it has to get done. I go, right, what field am I playing in today? And that's how I prioritize my list. What is my brain doing today? Is it feeling creative? Is it feeling technical? And that's how I build my daily list. So I prioritize obviously according to that and other criteria. So that might be something good to try. And then I've also been given the hint to enter tasks into my calendar as done. So if you lay out your schedule for the week, you put it in as call Sondra and set up meeting, done. And it just keeps you moving forward. It keeps you actioning those things. As it comes up, you go, right, it's done, right? And it sets you up in a really good, a positive vibe for the week. And then the last thing, those pesky little things that pop into your head while you're trying to focus, that Sondra mentioned earlier. When my brain's busy, it's all over the show all the time. And so when one of those pop into my head, I've got a little notepad next to my laptop, and I call it my squirrel notes. I just take a moment, write that thought down, and move on, right? And that has saved me and my focus so many times I can't count. So I thought it might be a good space to drop those 3 little tips in, and hopefully it helps someone. Thank you.
I love that. I love that, Megan. Yes, those squirrel thoughts are important, but we don't want them to take us off track. So I love that you have a notepad, and I'm assuming you have a method of putting them in the proper place later on so that it's not just a running notepad list that gets pushed off to the side.
Right.
So yeah, I love that. I love that. I know some people, a done list versus a to-do list is what works for them. You know, this is what I'm getting done today, period. And then they don't have all those to-dos on there. So again, it's really about tweaking it to make it work for you and your brain. Your brain. Again, that's what we're saying. For sure. So if you've noticed, we're going to keep our shows a little bit shorter this year, just so time-wise people are not committing to full hours. So we're going to try to keep them at 45 minutes. So I want to say thank you for everybody who was on the live. The point of the live interaction show is for people to interact. So definitely when you watch the show live, interact with me. I do watch the chat and I do ask questions, and I bring those questions in if you have questions for us or somebody on the panel. So that is the purpose of a live YouTube show, is to interact live. Of course, no problem if you have to catch it on replay. That's what it's there for, to live on the YouTube channel so that you can watch it whenever you want or whenever you need to. For sure. So we want to give a special shout out to Susan. She does our show notes, so she usually does those within 24 to 48 hours. She puts our LinkedIn links in the show notes that we can, so you can reach out to us and make appointments with us. She also does the covers to our shows, and she does all the scheduling. I'm super grateful for that. It's one less thing on my to-do list because Susan gets that done for us. And then Miss Somerville is always in the background doing whatever is needed for Protech, from emails to everything else that Peter doesn't want to do. No, Peter delegates to her. We have a saying in Protech: get yourself a Somerville, you just can't have ours. So definitely appreciate her. So my name is Sondra, and I am the owner of Get It Done Coaching, and I help you create your goals, but more importantly, meet your goals by using accountability systems, brain dumping, and everything in between. Mr. Peter, will you take us up?
Yeah, I think this year is going to be absolutely incredible. I'm actually looking forward to having a great journey and meeting new people, because our space seems to be growing slowly, intentionally slowly, but we're meeting some of the most incredible people, and we're dealing with some of the most amazing students in our spaces. So it's going to be a great year ahead. And we will end off the show like we usually do with the wise words of Nastine Botha, which is, may all your wildest entrepreneurial dreams come true.
See you guys next week.